You ever had your Saturday ruined by the kind of person who thinks a clipboard is a badge and a fake eviction notice gives her the right to play God? Yeah. Well, picture this. The sun's barely up, the air's thick with summer, and suddenly I'm standing at the edge of our lake staring at Karen Mulren and her personal flash mob of angry neighbors, all of them armed with camera phones, and that look in their eye, the one that says, "We gotcha now." I should have been out fishing. Instead, I'm about to get lectured off my own property by a woman who makes the IRS look friendly. You know what I mean? Karen's voice, if you can call it that, boomed across the water, all courtroom drama, waving around an eviction notice like she was about to send us packing to Alcatraz. The crime refusing to sign up for her little HOA kingdom. She'd dragged the sheriff, half the neighborhood, and enough cell phones to start a TikTok trend, all waiting to see the Westfields get their comeuppance. Problem is, Karen had no idea who she was messing with. If she did, she'd have run the other way, trust me. For 3 years, my family kept a low profile on this lakefront farm. Just another crew who'd traded city chaos for some peace and quiet. Or so folks thought. Me, I was just Noah Westfield tech consultant, husband to Maya, who ran her own numbers racket, if you count forensic accounting for the DEA as a racket. Our son Ethan was your typical cyber wizard, always 2 steps ahead on security, and our youngest Zoe could memorize a whole legal code before breakfast. On the outside, we were just your garden variety nerds hiding out in the sticks. Truth is, the feds had planted us their witness protection safe house, the whole 9 yards. Yeah, that happened. We testified against some folks you never want to meet in a dark alley in our property. Let's just say it was more official than anything Karen could dream up in her bylaws. But did that stop her? Not for a second. Karen was a real piece of work. Former real estate queen pin run out of her last HOA for some creative bookkeeping. Now hell-bent on building the biggest, bossiest association in 3 counties. She wanted every house, every dollar, every person marching to her tune. Families like ours who didn't jump at her threats. We were public enemy number 1. And Karen never rode alone. She had Marcus Webb, her accountant enforcer, lurking in her shadow with a briefcase full of ultimatums. They showed up at my door one Tuesday acting like they were serving a grand jury indictment instead of a friendly HOA welcome. Mr. Westfield Karen snapped, brandishing her stack of legalese. "This is your final notice. You will join the homeowners association or else." Her smile sharp enough to slice through steel. It's only $200 a month for the privilege. She added that word protection, hanging heavy like she knew how to break your kneecaps if you didn't pay up. I took the papers, glanced at the fine print. All threats, no sense, and handed them right back. "Thanks, but no thanks," I said. And Maya backed me up playing suburban housewife, even though I knew she could tear apart a money laundering operation before her second cup of coffee. Karen's face soured. Marcus started scribbling notes for some future lawsuit, and suddenly I could see the storm clouds gathering in her eyes. She wanted a fight. What she didn't know was how many fights we'd already survived. I told her as straight as I could, "We have special arrangements with local authorities." That didn't even scratch the surface, but you try explaining witness protection to a woman who thinks she's above the law. Karen started in on us. "Are you saying you're too good for community rules?" "Nobody's above this. HOA. Marcus bobbed his head, feeding off her power trip. I kept my cool, but I could see Ethan peeking through the blinds already, Googling how to hack a municipal records database if things went sideways. Karen leaned in all up in my space. "Governmental obligations. I don't care what you think you're hiding. No one's exempt from my rules." She waved some property records. I could tell by the number she'd found the coded safe house tags, but all she saw were clerical errors. Maya cut in smooth as ever. "We're not trying to cause trouble, but we can't participate due to legal commitments." Karen snorted, "Big mistake," and stomped off, vowing to bring the full weight of community standards down on our heads. By the end of the week, she'd lawyered up, filed a bogus lawsuit, and started a whisper campaign about the shady family at the lake. But Karen's attorney, after 10 minutes with our paperwork, called her back sounding like he'd just seen a ghost. "Mrs. Mollerin, I recommend you walk away. Now." See, he'd tripped over those federal codes. To him, it screamed, "Stay out." He quit immediately, but Karen thought it meant we'd paid him off. That just fired her up more. She told anyone who'd listen we were running scams, tax evasion, illegal businesses, maybe even hiding bodies for all I know. But then came the twist. Janet Miller retired, accountant ex-HOA treasurer, and sharp as a tack found Maya at the grocery store. "Here, honey," she said, handing over a fat envelope. "Karen's cooking the books. And Marcus. He's helping." Janet had receipts, literally. Inflated invoices, fake contractors, and enough missing cash to sink a small bank. Maya went full DEA mode, connecting the dots, embezzlement fraud, the whole shebang. But Karen didn't slow down. She started bribing county officials, reporting us for suspicious activity, even tried to pay off a planning inspector for dirt on our land. It all backfired. Her bribery calls got recorded, forwarded to the ethics board, and suddenly she was the one under the microscope. Then fate threw us a curveball. Some kid from the neighborhood got lost in our woods after dark. While the rest of the block was running around with flashlights, Ethan whipped out his tracking gadgets. Zoe mapped the search routes. Maya coordinated the teams. We found the boy in 8 minutes flat, before the volunteer fire crew even arrived. The neighbors, even Karen's loyalists, started looking at us different after that. "You folks know how to handle a crisis," they said. And just like that, the gossip turned from troublemakers to maybe the only grown-ups in the room. Ethan worried about blowing our cover at school, but I told him sometimes you just can't hide what you're good at. Meanwhile, Karen was busy digging up our past, calling private eyes, chasing ghosts. Her nuclear option came next, an emergency HOA meeting to vote us into mandatory compliance. Problem was, I'd come prepared. I walked in uninvited, slapped a folder on the table, federal grant documentation with my name on the oversight lines. Turns out, her HOA had taken 40 grand in federal money. Every action on that lake needed my approval as the federal liaison. Karen's face cracked. Marcus tried to slink away, and the rest of the HOA, led by Janet, turned their attention to the real show. 3 years' worth of missing money, all traced back to Karen and Marcus. The meeting turned into a financial audit. Karen sputtered, tried to blame us for manipulating the community, but the crowd had already decided this wasn't about rules, it was about theft. Of course Karen couldn't let it go. She called the sheriff, Dick Morrison, big guy, local legend, hoping to sick him on us. He showed up, took one look at me, and nearly fell over. Turns out I'd pulled him out of a cartel warehouse 8 years back during a federal sting. Noah Westfield. Agent. Westfield. "What are you doing here?" I explained quietly about witness protection, why we couldn't join the HOA. He nodded, saw the big picture, and quietly let Karen know she'd picked the wrong hill to die on. But Karen, she wasn't done yet. She staged a peaceful protest, dragged in TV crews, waving her fake eviction notice, shouting about federal overreach. What she didn't know, and here's the kicker, was that one of those journalists was actually U.S. Marshal Jake Carter, undercover, assigned to watch our backs. When Karen started ranting, Carter kept the camera rolling, making sure every word became evidence. That night, Marcus came knocking. "I want to cooperate," he said, eyes sunken, laptop in hand. He handed over everything, bank records, emails, including a smoking gun trail to a woman named Patricia Donovan, a regional property shark who coached Karen on how to force foreclosures, drive down values, and let outside investors swoop in. Classic organized crime with an HOA face. The next morning, Karen showed up with a whole mob, cameras, signs, the works. I stepped out, folder in hand, and told them flat out, "You're standing on federally protected land under surveillance, and every threat you make is being recorded." Phones dropped, eyes darted. Karen shrieked, tried to bluff, but Sheriff Morrison stepped up. told everyone the truth about our status, our role in taking down the syndicate, and why our family had been keeping our heads down. Maya held up the forensic evidence, $180,000, embezzled invoices, transfers, fake shell companies, all of it. Carter dropped the act, flashed his badge, and put Karen in cuffs for fraud, conspiracy, obstruction, the whole list. Marcus surrendered, the neighbors gawked, and Janet Miller took back the treasurer job, promising no more funny business. As for Karen, she went off screaming about conspiracies, but the only plot she starred in was a federal indictment. The news folks who'd come for a scandal left with footage of an HOA president getting perp-walked. The aftermath, new leadership, new rules, and a whole neighborhood suddenly awake to how close they'd come to losing everything. A few weeks later, I got a call from James Patterson, the old owner who'd lost his place to an HOA scam years ago. He'd seen the news, heard about the bust, and thanked us for finishing what he never could. I hoped this land would keep someone safe, he told me. Never thought it'd end the cycle for good. But just when we thought life would settle down, my phone buzzed, new assignment, new town, another HOA up to no good. Maya grinned. Ethan rolled his eyes and Zoe just shrugged. We're good at this, and you know what we are. So, let me ask you, ever had someone try to run your life with a rule book and a threat? What would you do if they came after your home, your peace, your family? Because justice, real justice, isn't about who yells the loudest or who carries the biggest clipboard. It's about standing your ground, knowing your rights, and not backing down when it counts. If you've ever gone toe-to-toe with a bully or watched someone try to steal what's yours, tell us in the comments. Hit like, subscribe, and share your story, because someone else needs to hear that fighting back is possible. And hey, sometimes the underdogs win.